Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and this is a video about a feature that will be added to JavaScript down the road called the @. method. Okay, and just a little context of why they would want to add this. Okay, it has to do with just sort of like how arrays work in JavaScript and how they work in other languages. So in JavaScript, they're not necessarily a proper array. So let me bring some. So they're technically an object. So for example, if I were to go here and console.log type of 1, 2, 3, so type of an array. If I were to run this file, see, I get an object. Okay, so technically what's going on is that an array is just an object where the number we pass in is a key. So if I say, hey, index 0 of the array, there's just a 0 key that has a value attached to it. Okay, so I get number. Actually, let's just take off the typo of it at the moment. Okay, 1. Now if I do now in other languages, since arrays are sort of more traditional arrays, they're not necessarily just they're not just the object in the same way that JavaScript implements it. What you could do is if you put in a negative index, it counts backwards from the end of the array. So -1 will return me 3. But in JavaScript, it does this. I get undefined because it actually treats it like a separate key. Okay, I could actually, this as an experiment. Let's get rid of that for a second. Console.log, well, let's just create an array. So r equals 1, 2, 3, and if I were to go r -1 equals hello, and then I were to console.log r -1, what do I get? I get hello. So I can actually assign a value to -1. Okay, it's its own key. Now let me just make a quick Python script. So yeah, let's make a new one. Python scratch.py. Now if I were to create an array here, r equals 1, 2, 3, 4, aka a list, and then I were to print r -1, here it would start counting backwards and give me 4. Oops, that's still JavaScript Python scratch.py. There we go, and I get 4. Okay, so the idea behind adding this @ method is that it helps us build out that functionality, in the sense that now you can have that in JavaScript. But it's not a feature that's currently implemented in JavaScript. It's sort of being discussed for implementation. But it's pretty easy to build out. Okay, so right here I did a very simple implementation. I could have actually made it simpler than this. I could have just literally just had this line here, and that would have done the trick. Actually, I could probably done this in one line. But actually not one line, because I couldn't have done an arrow function. But what happens here is essentially what I'm doing is I'm checking, is the thing you pass in a number? If not, I'm going to return requires a numerical index. And if it is a number, if it's 0 a number, I just treat it like a normal index and return you the value in the array of that index. And if it's less than 0, then I will take the length and add it, because it's a negative number. So if you add a negative number, it's going to subtract, and that'll get you back the item at that particular index. So again, if I do this, let me comment that out. And again, the way you can add methods to the array prototype, if you want to do it yourself, you just do array.prototype, name a property, and then just make a function. Okay. Although you could also just create your own type of array. You can extend the array prototype, but by just inheritance. I'll show you that in a second. Console.log. Okay, so I do console.log. Here's an array, and then we use this new @ method that we created right up here. And I say -1. So if I do this, see, I get oops, ran the wrong file. And say I get 5 and 4. Which is what you see because it's doing it from the end of the array. So -1 would be here. -2 would be here. Okay, and that could be useful because otherwise, you'd have to do the whole like length minus this, length minus that, which is fine. I've been used to doing that just fine for now. But the idea is that you have this other tool to help you sort of move around in an array. Okay, and allows certain like patterns that are typical to other languages to be possible in JavaScript. Okay, now if you wanted to implement this in your own programs, I don't know if I would add this to the prototype. The issue is when you add something to the prototype is that it could collide, although technically what you're adding here is something that's going to be added, so I guess that's fine. But let's say you did want to create like an extension of an array. Okay, the way you could do it is do it this way. So let me just change this. We'll call this class bonus array extends array. And then we'd call the constructor. Okay, and we would just say args, and then we would just call this the parent constructor super, and we would just pass in the args. Okay, and then we can add any methods we want. So we would just add @, and then I would just copy this function over. So I'd say Control C. There we go. There's the function definition. Okay. And I will delete this. So that way, in this case, instead of doing this, I would do new bonus array, because only the standard array, the array type can take advantage of the curly the square brackets in that way. Okay, and I think I can do this. Okay, and then I will just do this. And this should work the same. Yep, works the same. Okay, because essentially this is, I'm just taking, and I still have all the other methods. So I'll still have like filter, slice available in my bonus array, but I can have any additional methods that I want available there. Like that's what I did in a library that I have, mutils. Okay, let me just double check that. npm.js.com. I'll probably go add this @ method to that. Mutils. Yeah, here we go. Mutils am. Okay. So see, there's all these. This is a special type array, M array, and you can construct a new M array, and you get all these methods with it. Shuffle, map to map, so you can convert. So what this does, it takes a map to object, like map, but returns an object. Oh, okay, I see. So you do is you map it, but you turn each thing into, you end up with an object at the end. Leave one, so you can eliminate everything except one. Eliminate a random item. Get rid of any duplicates. A lot of useful methods that are available here. I have a different version of this. What is it? Super array? No, I have a different. Let's go back. Because the original version of that, I did actually upgrade the array prototype, but then people told me like that was a bad idea. You could have collision, so then I went back and I built mutils, which extends the array prototype. So that way you don't avoid any collisions. Like if you want those methods, you create my M array, and you don't have to worry about any additions or changes to the underlying array. But let me go find, where's my profile? Published a year ago. Here we go. Okay, let's see here. Better types is sort of the intermediate. There I create a class, which just required me to write a lot more code. That was before I realized I could extend the array prototype. So better types was sort of like an in-between library, and then the original version was, I've written quite a few libraries now. Render blocks, component. Let's go more. Was. What is this? I've used called Merced utils actually. Or, yeah, Merced. No, that's the one we're just looking at. Merced element, no. Merced UI. Merced utils, there we go. And basically what you would do here is you would just run these methods, or these functions, and these functions would then add all the methods to the prototype, and you'd have all these additional like string methods and array methods, same ones you'd see in the other one, but a lot of really useful stuff in there. Think of it as like a very low-key Lodash. My name is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Hopefully you found that interesting about the @ method that will be eventually added to JavaScript. But again, if you really wanted to add it real quick, you could add it. And like if I were to like make this even shorter and not worry about like handling edge cases, so I could have really just done this, and this would work the same. I could have just gotten rid of that, got rid of that. Oops, got rid of too much there. Got rid of all this, and just done that. That's essentially it. Okay, just that ternary operator, and this would still pretty much work the same. Okay, just say, hey, basically, if the number passed in is 0 or more, use it as a normal index, and if it's less, then you know, you add it to the length to get the index number. Now, of course, there's always a situation. What if I go beyond? You know, if I do like -6 and there's only 5 items in the array, well, then you're going to end up getting like undefined again, because you're starting to go into those negative indexes. But you know, you could control for that or just leave that. I think that kind of situation would happen either way. Like if I did that in Python, let's go back to the Python situation. If I were to do -5 when there's only 4 arrays, what error do I get? Yeah, I get just an out of range error. So you could throw an error, or you could just do that. So my name is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Have a great day and enjoy.